At 2:14 p.m. in the airspace over the Persian Gulf, the afternoon sun was blazing as a single CH-53 Super Stallion helicopter flew steadily toward safety. On board were 8 U.S. Marines and a locked metal case containing highly classified intelligence recovered during a covert operation in Iraq. The mission was supposed to be routine, a standard extraction flight heading back to USS Bataan, until the situation suddenly changed. Out of nowhere, 6 Iranian F-4 Phantom fighter jets appeared on radar and began intercepting the helicopter, maneuvering aggressively and pushing it toward Iranian airspace. Tehran's objective was clear: force the helicopter to land inside Iran, capture the Marines, seize the classified intelligence, and parade them on state television as a propaganda victory. To Iranian commanders, this looked like an easy target. 1 unarmed transport helicopter, 8 Marines, no fighter escort, and no visible backup. But Iran made 3 critical and fatal mistakes. First, the moment the Iranian jets locked on, the helicopter's encrypted distress beacon automatically activated. Second, USS Bataan was only 40 miles away, fully prepared, with 16 H-1Z Viper attack helicopters already fueled, armed, and on standby. Third, the instant Iran tried to force that helicopter down, U.S. Central Command authorized an unprecedented response: a simultaneous strike on every Iranian military base within 200 kilometers of the interception zone. 11 bases, 19 minutes, total destruction. This is that story. At 2:14 p.m., the CH-53 was still 70 kilometers from safety, cruising at 200 knots, with the Marines inside securing the classified intelligence related to Iranian weapons smuggling networks. Suddenly, the radar warning receiver screamed, beep, 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 as the 6 Iranian F-4s closed in from multiple angles, boxing the helicopter in. Captain Mike Rodriguez, the pilot, immediately understood the danger. "We're being intercepted," he said. "Iranian Air Force, 6 fighters. They're forcing us toward their airspace." Moments later, the Iranian lead pilot radioed in broken English, ordering, "American helicopter, you are approaching Iranian territory. Follow us to Bandar Abbas airfield. Land immediately or you will be shot down." Rodriguez knew exactly what that meant: forced landing, capture, and seizure of intelligence, which alone was worth billions. The Marines would be a propaganda prize. He responded calmly but firmly, "Negative. This is a U.S. military aircraft in international airspace. We are not complying. Break off immediately." The Iranian pilot answered coldly, "You have no choice. 6 fighters, 1 helicopter. Land now or die." But Rodriguez had already pressed the red encrypted distress button on his console. The signal flashed across U.S. command networks instantly: Guardian distress, Iranian intercept, 8 Marines, classified cargo, forced landing imminent. At 2:15 p.m. aboard USS Bataan, alarms blared across the ship. Marine Colonel James Reeves, commander of the Amphibious Ready Group, read the alert twice and made an immediate decision: launch all Vipers, establish combat air patrol, find that helicopter, engage any Iranian forces attempting capture. I want all 16 gunships airborne in 90 seconds. Use all necessary force. At 2:16 p.m., 16 H-1Z Viper attack helicopters roared off the deck of Bataan, 2-man crews, fully armed with Hellfire missiles, Hydra rockets, and 20mm cannons, ready for combat. At the exact same time, U.S. Central Command received the distress signal. 4-star General Marcus Chun, CENTCOM commander, had been anticipating an Iranian provocation like this. Presidential authorization was already clear. Any attempt by Iran to capture U.S. personnel or seize classified material would be met with overwhelming force. General Chun issued the order without hesitation: execute Guardian strike. Target all Iranian air bases and naval facilities within 200 kilometers of the intercept point. Bombers weapons free. Carrier strike authorized. Eliminate their ability to threaten U.S. aircraft. And at 2:17 p.m., the response was set in motion. While the Iranian F-4 fighter jets were still forcing the helicopter closer to Iran, 6 U.S. B-52 Stratofortress bombers were already flying in wide circles over international waters and had received their targeting data. 11 Iranian military bases were selected, coordinates locked in, and weapons fully armed. At 2:18 p.m., the CH-53 helicopter was now only 30 kilometers from the Iranian coast, with the Iranian jets flying even closer, clearly preparing to force it to land. Captain Rodriguez spoke calmly to his crew over the intercom and said, "Marines, we may have to set down. If that happens, form a defensive perimeter immediately. Protect that case at all costs. Help is coming." Inside the helicopter, the 8 Marines checked their M4 carbines, confirmed ammunition, and mentally prepared to fight if they were forced onto the ground. But at 2:19 p.m., just 3 minutes after the distress signal, help arrived. 16 H-1Z Viper attack helicopters appeared on the horizon in tight combat formation, their weapons already locked onto the Iranian fighters. One Marine pilot radioed clearly, "Iranian aircraft, this is the United States Marine Corps. Disengage from our helicopter immediately. You are being targeted by 16 attack helicopters. Break off now, or you will be engaged." For 5 tense seconds, there was complete silence. Then, the Iranian pilots made their choice. The F-4S broke formation, turned away, and retreated toward the Iranian coast. They had seen Viper gunships before and knew exactly what those helicopters could do. By 2:20 p.m., the CH-53 was completely safe, flying back toward USS Bataan, surrounded by 16 Marine attack helicopters. But the larger response was already in motion and could not be stopped. At 2:21 p.m., the 6 B-52 bombers opened their bomb bays, each carrying 50 AGM-86 cruise missiles, for a total of 300 missiles. Target assignments appeared on pilot screens. Bandar Abbas Air Base received 15 missiles, Bushehr Air Base 12 missiles, Chabahar Naval Base 20 missiles, Jask Naval Facility 18 missiles, and the remaining missiles were distributed among 7 smaller bases. At 2:22 p.m., all 300 cruise missiles dropped away from the bombers, engines igniting as they flew independently, guided by GPS and flying low over the terrain, with 19 minutes to impact. At 2:23 p.m., USS Ronald Reagan, positioned about 100 miles away, launched 24 F/A-18 Super Hornets armed with precision-guided bombs, tasked with destroying Iranian radar sites and air defense systems near the targeted bases. By 2:28 p.m., American electronic warfare aircraft began jamming Iranian radar, effectively blinding their air defenses so they could not see the incoming missiles. Iranian radar screens showed nothing, no warnings, no alerts. Only at 2:33 p.m., just 11 minutes before impact, did Iranian air defense operators detect faint signals, many fast-moving contacts inbound. Panic spread through Iranian command centers as fighters scrambled and air defenses activated. But it was already too late. At 2:41 p.m., the 300 cruise missiles reached the Iranian coastline and split apart, each missile guiding itself to a specific target. At 2:41 p.m., Bandar Abbas Air Base, the largest Iranian military airfield in the south, erupted as 15 missiles struck at once, tearing open runways, exploding hangars, igniting fuel depots into massive fireballs, collapsing the control tower, and destroying maintenance buildings. 18 Iranian F-4 Phantom jets were destroyed on the ground before they could even take off. At the same moment, Bushehr Air Base was hit by 12 missiles, suffering the same level of destruction, with runways shattered, aircraft burning, and command facilities wiped out. Runways were torn apart, aircraft burned where they stood, and command buildings were crushed into rubble. At 2:41 p.m., Chabahar Naval Base, Iran's most important strategic port in the south, was completely destroyed when 20 cruise missiles hit almost at the same time. The piers were shattered, patrol boats were sunk in their berths, warehouses exploded, and the naval headquarters collapsed into dust. Just 1 minute later, at 2:42 p.m., the Jask Naval Facility was struck by 18 missiles, wiping out submarine pens, igniting massive fuel storage explosions, and toppling radar towers across the base. In less than 90 seconds, 11 Iranian military bases stopped functioning entirely. Every runway was cratered, every hangar destroyed, every command center flattened, and every fuel depot was burning. But the American response did not stop there. At 2:43 p.m., 24 F/A-18 fighter jets arrived overhead and dropped GBU-31 JDM precision bombs on anything still standing. Iranian air defense systems that survived the cruise missile strikes were destroyed by laser-guided bombs. Backup command bunkers were penetrated and collapsed, and hardened aircraft shelters were demolished. At 2:44 p.m., four U.S. submarines launched 48 additional Tomahawk missiles from underwater positions, targeting Iranian radar stations along the coast. Every early warning radar installation was eliminated. By 2:48 p.m., just 19 minutes after the first B-52 released its missiles, all 11 Iranian military bases were smoking ruins. No aircraft could take off, no ships could deploy, and no radar systems were working. Iran's entire military infrastructure along the Persian Gulf was effectively destroyed in 19 minutes. American losses were zero, not a single aircraft damaged and not a single missile intercepted. The CH-53 helicopter that triggered the crisis landed safely on USS Bataan at 2:33 p.m., with all 8 Marines unharmed and the classified intelligence fully secure. Iran had tried to capture 8 Marines and steal sensitive intelligence, but instead lost 11 military bases, 73 aircraft destroyed on the ground, 247 casualties, and its entire regional command structure. Everything gone in less than 20 minutes. Within hours, Tehran claimed only minor damage from American aggression, showing old footage and denying losses. But satellite images revealed the truth. 11 bases burning, runways destroyed, and nothing flying. The Pentagon's message was direct and unmistakable. Iran attempted to force down a U.S. military helicopter and capture American service members, and the response was the complete elimination of every Iranian military facility capable of threatening U.S. aircraft. The strategic impact was enormous. Iran lost more military capability in 19 minutes than in many major battles of the Iran-Iraq War. Every base that could launch aircraft was gone, every naval facility that could harass ships was destroyed, and every radar system that could track movements was eliminated. But the psychological impact was even greater. Iran tried to capture 8 Marines from one helicopter, and America responded by destroying 11 bases with 348 cruise missiles and bombs, all with precise accuracy. The message was clear: touch one Marine, and you lose your entire military infrastructure in that region. That was not a proportional response. It was total destruction. The lesson was unmistakable. You can intercept, threaten, or provoke, but the moment you try to capture Marines, your bases turn into craters, your aircraft into scrap, and your military into history. And it happens in 19 minutes. At 2:14 p.m., 6 Iranian fighters tried to force down one Marine helicopter. By 2:33 p.m., 11 Iranian bases were destroyed, 73 aircraft eliminated, 247 casualties recorded, and 8 Marines were safe with the intelligence secured. Iran wanted humiliation. Instead, it learned a permanent lesson. Never intercept Marine helicopters. Never threaten Marine aircraft. Never try to capture Marines. Because 19 minutes later, your military infrastructure no longer exists. This was Operation Guardian Strike. 19 minutes, total devastation. Never touch Marines.